sources of power, African leaders, their mansions, and a poor continent. Today's conversation starts with a building, not a bill, not a policy, but a mansion. A massive private residence belonging to Nigerian Senator George Sekibor, currently trending across social media, has brought back a familiar question. How do public officials in poor countries afford extreme luxury? From Abuja to Malabo, Nairobi to Harare. This is a story of power, wealth, and a widening moral gap. This is about political power which comes with palace-level lifestyles, while citizens live in failing systems. Now let's look at a case study. I'm sure you must have seen this video. It went viral some weeks ago. It shows a huge building, massive compound, luxury furniture owned by Senator George Sekibor, a long-serving Nigerian lawmaker. Now, no court has convicted Senator George Sekibor, just to let you know, of any wrongdoing. That is very important to know. But the public reaction is telling millions of Nigerians asking the same thing. How does a career public servant afford a property of this magnitude? This is not really about one man. It's about what his mansion symbolizes. Let's take a quick look what that symbolizes. Sekibor's mansion has gone viral because it fits into a pattern Nigerians already recognize. Politicians living far above the economic reality of citizens, owning luxury homes in Abuja, Ikoyi, Dubai, even in London. Public salaries that cannot explain private lifestyles. Weak asset declarations, and no lifestyles audits. A culture where wealth is celebrated, not questioned. The mansion didn't shock Nigerians, just to let you know. Of course, now we're used to that. It confirmed what many already believe. Now, the pattern, not just Sekibor, not just Nigeria. It is across the African continent. Sekibor is not unique. He's just the latest symbol. In Nigeria, former political office holders like Desiani, Alison Madueke, James Ibori, and others have all faced questions over luxury assets and wealth accumulation. In Equatorial Guinea, the Vice President Theodore Obiang, who is the son of the President Theodore Obiang, formerly owned a 30 million mansion in Malabo and a fleet of Bugattis and Ferraris, which was seized by the United States authorities. Now, let's move further. In Zimbabwe, under Emerson Mnangagwa, a political elite live in luxury environs while inflation destroys wages. In Kenya, political dynasties like the Kenyatta family control massive land and property portfolios. Close to Kenya, their neighbors, Uganda, their President Yoweri Museveni inner circle and political ally live in heavily guarded estates, while youth unemployment remains among the highest in East Africa. The mansion class exists everywhere, especially in Africa continent. Sekibor just made it very visible for us to see again. Now, why does this matter for us to talk about this? Now, the core contradiction. Here is the contradiction that we should talk about. Africa holds over 60% of the world's poorest people, yet some of the world's most extravagant political lifestyles in Nigeria. Lawmakers and modern members of the parliament in the United Kingdom. Nigeria ranks among the poorest countries globally in health, education, and infrastructure. In Kenya, the prime ministers receive housing allowances higher than doctors' annual salaries. In South Africa, corruption scandals under Jacob Zuma revealed state funds used for personal estates like the Nkandla. So when a senator's mansion goes viral, it is no longer a gossip. It is a visual economic report. It shows where public money flows, who benefits from governance, and who pays the price. Now, let's be clear on one thing. The continent isn't poor. The system is corrupt, period. Let's look at the global comparison, why this looks very abnormal. In Germany, the Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, lives in a modest official apartment. In Uruguay, former President Jose Mujica lived on a small farm and donated most of his salary. In Sweden, ministers and prime ministers often use public transportation, such as buses and trains. They do not have official cars or even private drivers. But of course, in Nigeria and much of Africa, politicians live like the oil sheikhs. Their houses like palaces bigger than universities. Citizens live like refugees. And corruption is no longer hidden. It is architectural. Sekibo's mansion looks abnormal because it is normalized corruption. Africa has presidential lifestyles with third world infrastructure. Now, the psychology of power. Let's look at that a little bit. In Africa's politics, office is not about service. It's seen as an escape from poverty. Office becomes personal insurance policy, family business opportunity, generalization, wealth transfer. That's why politicians build mansions, not institution that is required for them to do. Now, what is the cost? What does this cost the society? What is the society losing? Why leaders build mansions, schools collapse, hospitals lack proper facilities, roads kills more people than even in wars. Yet, young African moves abroad legally and illegally. The problem isn't Sekibo's mansion. The problem is a system where no one has explained it. No audit, no consequences, even no shame. Now, the question is, what should change? Let's look at the real issue. The real reform is simple but dangerous to power. Public asset declaration by political office holders should be published, not hidden agenda. Countries like Botswana and Rwanda are doing very well in this regard. Lifestyle audit for all elected officials. Explaining unexplained wealth must be investigated. Independent anti-corruption agencies without no interruption. Media that ask hard questions. Citizens that refuse to clap for stolen wealth. We need to hold our leaders accountable. If we don't, corruption will strive in our silence. Now, in closing, Sekibo's mansion is not the story here. It is the mirror, a mirror showing a continent where leaders live in palaces, citizens live in struggle, and nobody resigns. Africa does not suffer from lack of resources. It suffers from luxurious leadership in poor society. So the question is no longer how did he build it. The real question is why did the system allow it? More so, are we building society where leaders are accountable, or societies where power is simply a license to live better than everyone else? Can Africa create a future where political success is measured by schools built, hospitals funded, road fixed, not mansion constructed? Tell us what you think in the comments. Is it just the reality of politics, or it is a betrayal of public trust? If this video made you think, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the AdieTalk show. We're here to make complex issues easy to understand, because in a continent this young, the future still depends on what we are willing to question, asking the hard question. Let the system hold politicians accountable. Thank you for listening.